Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is all about acing that important interview. I came up with 10 important tips that I think will make such a huge difference for an interview. When I was coming up with these 10 tips, I felt like they were pretty basic, but I still think they're super important, and you would be surprised how many times people don't follow this advice and they do the complete opposite. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to film it regardless, and hopefully at least one person out there enjoys this video. So let's just dive right in. The first tip that I have starts before you even show up for your interview, and that is to research the company you're interviewing with. Such a simple task, but a lot of people don't do it. I feel like a lot of people, or the average person, is applying to multiple different companies, different jobs, especially in the climate that we're in. So I completely get it, but it's still very important to make an effort to research the company you are interviewing for. And when I say research, I literally mean research. Research if there are any recent news articles that the company appears in, research their mission statements, their financials if you can find it. Anything that will make you appear more knowledgeable in the interview will help you in the long run, I promise. 9 out of 10 times, the person that's interviewing you will ask you, how did you hear about us and why did you apply? So please, please, please don't say that you just saw the job posting and you decided to apply because you need a job. Obviously, we all need jobs. We all need to make money. So that answer is not going to cut it, and it's going to put the interviewer off. So sometimes being too honest is not a good thing. The next tip that I have is to always dress professionally for your interview. I don't care if it's a cashier role, I don't care if it's an executive role at a very important company. Regardless of the role that you're interviewing for, please show up in a professional attire. Dress like you are going to interview for your dream job. You are definitely going to make an impression if you do this. I've had people show up in interviews with flip-flops or with ripped jeans, and it puts me off completely. And then I do have a little bonus tip in this professional attire category, and it's to limit the amount of perfume you put on. I actually don't put on any perfume when I go on an interview, just because I never know if the person that's going to interview me has any allergies, or I may like the perfume that I'm wearing but they may not, which may put them off. You don't want to lose an opportunity just because the person interviewing you can't concentrate because of the overwhelming scent of your perfume, or because they have an allergic reaction. So if you take a shower, you will smell good, and that's all that matters. The next tip that I have is to only show up 15 minutes early for your interview. And I feel like 15 minutes is the golden rule for absolutely any appointment. Anything more than 15 minutes is going to cause stress to your interviewer. Hear me out. You may be thinking, why should it cause any stress to the person interviewing me if I show up 30 minutes and I just wait in the waiting room? It does cause a lot of stress, because you are most likely not the only person that they're interviewing with. They may have other responsibilities that they need to get done, and knowing that there's a person waiting out there super early is going to put some pressure on the person interviewing you. Like if you're 30 minutes early to an interview, go walk around the neighborhood, go get a cup of coffee, go breathe, relax, and then come back 15 minutes before your interview. And I feel like sometimes people show up 30 minutes early and expect to be seen at that time because they have other obligations, and that's not how it works. You know, sometimes you may get there early and the person will see you right away, but a lot of the times the person interviewing you, again, has so many other responsibilities they need to take care of, and they're not going to come out super early. And safe to say, please don't be late. I understand that things happen. I understand that if you live in a city like Boston, the trains never work or there's always traffic. I completely understand that, but don't be late to an interview. I promise you, it's going to leave a very bad impression. Regardless if you're at fault or not, it's not going to look good. So arrive 15 minutes early, and don't be late. The next tip that I have is to be nice to absolutely everyone that you come across with in that company. So let's say you are interviewing with human resources. Be nice to the human resources coordinator. Be nice to, obviously, the recruiter that's interviewing you. Be nice to the hiring manager. Everyone and anyone that you come across in the building that you're interviewing in, be nice. People talk. I can't tell you guys how many times I've had an interview with someone who was so rude to the HR coordinator and was super nice to me, obviously, because I'm the one interviewing them. And then when I go talk to the HR coordinator, they tell me, please don't hire that person because they were extremely disrespectful. They did A, B, and C, and I don't think they'll be a good fit for the job. I'll listen to my HR coordinator before I listen to a complete stranger who I've never met before that day, just because I have a work relationship with my HR coordinator and I know that they wouldn't lie just for the heck of it. So please, please, please be nice to absolutely everyone that you come across with, and smile, say thanks, say please, manners. Just be a decent human being. You'd be surprised how many people aren't. And it blows my mind how someone can be rude on the day of their interview to someone who works at the company that they're interviewing for. It literally boggles my mind, but it happens. The next tip that I have actually happens on your way to the person that you're interviewing with's office. So let's say, for example, when I worked at my last job in a big hospital, I typically would be the first person to interview, let's say, a nurse. And then once I finished the interview, I would walk them up to the nurse director for their second interview with them. And I try to have open conversations with a lot of candidates. And sometimes I find that people don't really try to have conversations. So the conversations when you're in the elevator or when you're walking to the office, that time between when the interviewer picks you up and then takes you to their office is crucial, because you can definitely leave a good impression during those 2 or 3 minutes. Like I mentioned before, you're probably not the only person that the interviewer is interviewing with that day. And if you have a conversation with that person, I don't care if it's about the weather, I don't care if it's about your commute, whatever it is, if you make them laugh or if you share like an experience that you recently had that's professional, they will most likely remember you among the other 10 to 15 candidates that they interview. And then my next tip actually goes hand in hand with what I just mentioned, which is to let your personality show through. Again, I know that nerves can get the best of us. I've been there, I completely get it. But try to not be stuck in your head. Try not to be super silent, super shy. Let your personality show through somewhat in a professional manner. Don't overshare too much about what you did the past weekend with your girlfriend or your boyfriend, but let your personality show through via like the words you use, or smiling, or if the person that is interviewing you cracks a joke, maybe respond with another joke or laugh, again in a professional manner. But don't just sit there and be like super nervous and not being able to move or not really engaging with the person that you're interviewing with, because a lot of the times the interviewer is going to want to see if they can figure out your personality, if you will be a good fit for the work culture in that company. There's definitely a balance. Like, you don't want to be too dry where your personality is not showing through, but you don't want to get too comfortable where it comes off across as unprofessional, because neither extremes are good. Just try to meet your interviewer somewhat in the middle, gauge their personality, notice how they interact with you, what they're saying. The next tip that I have is to answer absolutely every question with confidence. Don't give one-word answers. Don't say, I don't know. Please don't say, I don't know. Make sure that you are prepared with possible questions that the interviewer may ask you. I've had interviews with people who, when I ask them why they want to work for said company, they're like, I don't know, I just saw the job posting so I applied. Or I asked them, give me a time where you've shown strength in a very chaotic day, and they're like, I don't know, I can't really think of anything right now because I'm nervous. That is not the answer. We've all been nervous in an interview. Literally almost everyone that goes on an interview is somewhat nervous, so that is not the way to go. Be prepared with possible answers that you can give that really showcase your strengths, and that will leave a good impression. The next tip is a super duper important one, and a lot of people make the mistake of talking badly about their current or previous employer. And please, 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 I am telling you, do not do this. I don't care if your last employer was horrible, if you had a horrible relationship with your manager. No interviewer really wants to hear that. You can definitely say that there were some challenges in your last role, but use those challenges as examples of how far you've grown as a person as a professional in your industry. Don't mouth the previous employer that you had, because it's going to leave a really nasty impression. The person interviewing is going to be like, okay, there's two sides to every story, so I would love to see what your employer thinks about you if you think so badly about them. Speaking of challenges and strengths, make sure that you have an answer for when the interviewer asks you, what are your top 2 strengths and weaknesses? I think a lot of people get overwhelmed when they're asked this question. It's normal. No one really wants to talk about their weaknesses, or you may be unsure of what is a acceptable weakness. 9 out of 10 times you are going to get asked this question during an interview, regardless of the industry that you're working in. So it's very important that you just don't answer vaguely, or that you say, oh, I don't have any weaknesses, because that is BS. We all have weaknesses. We all have things that we need to work on. So maybe come up with a weakness and then let them know how you're working to improve on that weakness. Let's say your weakness is delegating. You will let the interviewer know the steps that you're taking to improve your delegation skills. So don't be shy. Don't feel like you're going to give the wrong answer, because the wrong answer will be, oh, I don't know what my weaknesses are. If you don't know what your weaknesses are, how are you going to improve and how are you going to grow? And at the end of the interview, make sure that you ask at least 2 questions. And please try to ask questions that really can't be found on the internet easily. Make sure that you ask questions that it's specific to either the company or the role that you're interviewing for, or that can't easily be found on Google. Like, don't ask like, what is your mission statement? You should have known that prior to coming in for an interview. So a good question that you can always ask, and that's always safe proof, is to ask the interviewer, how long have you been working for this company? What's one thing you would change if you could? What's one thing that you absolutely love about your role? Make it more specific to the person that's interviewing you. That way it shows that you care and that you're interested to learn more about the company, and you're not just like, oh, this is another interview because I need a job. A bonus tip that I have, and it's completely optional, is to send a thank you card. But in 2021, a thank you card is basically a thank you email, just telling them it was a pleasure to meet them, thank them for meeting with you for 15-20 minutes, however long the interview lasted, and that you look forward to hearing from them. Thank you emails are completely optional. I've been interviewing people for the last 5 or 6 years, and honestly, I've gotten just a handful of thank you emails. Not everyone does them, but it does leave a lasting impression when you receive a thank you email and you're like, oh, I remember this person. I think they'd be a great fit. And obviously it's not going to be a deal breaker. Like, you can send a thank you email and the person that interviewed you may have already offered the job to another person. It really doesn't make a huge difference, but it is a nice little touch. And just because you don't get that specific job role doesn't mean that they won't think of you for other roles that may open up down the line. I hope you guys enjoy these 10 tips. I again feel like they're pretty straightforward, but I thought I would film this video anyways. Let me know if you guys want to see more. If you enjoyed this video, definitely check out my other HR related videos. I have a whole playlist on my channel that you can easily watch all the HR related content. And don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. I would love to have you a part of my channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.